Hello, my name is Jim Bellacera, and I want to welcome you to Within the Millionaire Mind. The lesson is going to be on making the right choices. And believe me, when I talk about making the right choices is critical to have a better life. It's not a mistake to make a mistake, but it is a mistake to repeat the same mistakes. It said wisdom is learned, but it's always better to learn through the efforts of other people, or their experiences, in other words. You see, the key to wisdom is listening to your experiences or those you learn from so as not to repeat your mistakes or other people's mistakes. Repeating the same mistakes is summed up in the definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. In one of my other lessons I talked about the definition of insanity and how people just continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's your choice. If you recognize that you've done something once and it didn't work out, you do it again and it's still not working out, that means you're in that definition zone of doing the same thing, trying to expect different results, but you're not getting any different results. That's insanity. So our belief structure is made up of a combination of our strongest influences. The things that we hear, the things that we're told from our parents, from our friends, from our church, from our teachers, from the things that we read, from the music we listen to, from what we watch on television, from where we work, and even the social media that we play on. All of those have an impact on influencing our thoughts and how we act. You see, years of programming determine so much in our life and who we become. If you notice, I have the image that says you can't see the forest through the trees. You see, because we spend so many years being programmed, it actually has everything to do with how we deal with our relationships. Have you ever seen a couple, all they ever do is argue all the time? It seems like anything sets them off. And then have you ever seen a couple that they're just always in love? It just seems like they've got a happy life. Well, something has to trigger the way they act with each other. Something has to trigger how they apologize or if they don't apologize. You see, it all has to do with how we've been programmed throughout our life. So how do we live our lives? Has everything to do with how we've been programmed. You see this house, you see the kids' toys all over the floor and the baskets filled with clothes. You see the countertop filled with all kinds of debris on the countertop. And then you see this picture where it shows a picture of the same room and on the left and the same room on the right, where the room on the left is just filled with toys and debris and all kinds of stuff, clutter, if you will. And on the right, it's all cleaned up, nice and neat. You see, how we are programmed determines how messy our life is. In this last image, it says, cleaning up is fun. And I've got to tell you a really cute story. When my son was really young, I would say, Justin, you got to go up and clean your room. And he wouldn't clean his room. And so I'd spank him, and I said, Justin, you got to go up there and clean your room. And I don't know, he'd find every excuse under the sun not to go up and clean his room. If I sent him up to his room to go clean it, he'd be up there playing instead of cleaning. And then one day I told my son, I says, Justin, I thought I would try another angle. I says, why don't you go up there and organize your room? And I'll never forget this the rest of my life, because I went up to his room and I expected it to be messy still, because it seemed like every time I sent him up there to his room to clean up, he was always playing. And his room was completely organized. It was clean as it was amazing. He didn't vacuum it and he didn't dust it, but all of his toys were perfectly placed where they needed to be. It was amazing. And it dawned on me. We have always talked about organizing, and he seemed to like that. And what happened was, when instead of using the words, go clean up your mess, I said, Justin, go organize your room. He was all excited to do it because he knew that when he would organize his room, I would come up and praise him for it. Now, I don't know what to say about my daughter. She's just another story, and if I say any more, I'll get in trouble. So I'm not going to say any more. But I can tell you that the programming that we put in our kids have everything to do with the way they grow up. So how do we raise our children? Do we raise them in a happy, jovial family where the family eats together, where the kids play together, they enjoy being around each other? Do we pray as a family? You see, what we see, what we experience is what we become. Now, we can make that choice to be the example. They have to make the choice to live that example. But the good news is our programming will help them make a better choice when it's time for them to make it. Now, what about believing that we're worthy? You know, if we were brought up in a household where our parents constantly yelled at us and said things like, why don't you be like your sister? Or why don't you be like your brother? I wish you would do more. You know, you're so lazy. Blah, 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 blah. You understand exactly what I'm saying. You've probably heard this before, whether it was in your family or a friend of yours in their family. And the sad thing is that programming that we put in our children, we repeat. And the only way to break that cycle is to make a choice that we're worthy. So the type of income that we're going to earn, you know, we have a choice. You see this hobo sitting on the ground begging for money, right? And that's, you know, kind of typical. I mean, I'm sure you've been in street corners where hobos have walked up to you and asked for money and so on and so forth. I want to share a story with you that probably will blow your mind. And this is an actual story, real life story. This actually happened to me. I owned a spa manufacturing company. These were fiberglass spas where we put all mosaic tiles all the way around the spa, inside the spa and around the outside of the spa. It's just gorgeous. Our factory was next to an alley. I remember I was looking for the manager of the factory, and he was nowhere to be found. And I think somebody said he was outside in the alley. And I go, oh, okay. So I opened the door, went out in the alley, and I could see Jim. His name was Jim as well. And I walked down the stairs and walked over to him. He was talking to somebody. I didn't know who he was. Then I realized that he was a hobo. I mean, he had no shoes. His feet had sores everywhere. You could tell he was an alcoholic. And Jim says to me, he goes, I have somebody I want you to meet. And I go, okay, sure. And he says, Jim, this is so-and-so. He was my professor at Sac State University. I wanted to say, excuse me, but I held back from that. I refrained from saying anything that would be uncomfortable for him. And Jim went on to share what they'd been talking about in the conversation. And the gentleman that he was talking to was extremely articulate. He was very intelligent. I realized he was someone that, you know, as a professor in a university, he was making a six-figure salary. And yet he ended up in an alley with no shoes on. His hair was a mess. He probably hadn't taken a bath in a month. I mean, it was surreal. It just did nothing about it seemed real. I mean, how could somebody like that live here, walk away from his family, his friends, his career? But it was a choice. He made a choice to walk away from it. He made a choice to just make enough money to get by and buy food and alcohol. But we can also make a choice to make more money. It's our choice. If we believe we're worthy, we'll make the choice to find a way to make the money we want to make. And where we work. You know, the same age people work in fast food restaurants that work for themselves. It's a choice. Everything we do, it's a programming. Well, Jim, I'm a victim of circumstances. You know, the best thing I can do for myself is get a fast food job. Really? Do you know that some of the people that work for themselves came from the same place, maybe even worse environment than you? It's a choice. With the right programming, we can make better choices because we have a lifetime of choices. Whether we live a healthy life or an unhealthy life. Imagine sitting around the table eating healthy food, talking about why we eat healthy food so we can have a healthy life, so that we don't have to get sick or be as sick. And what about activity? Did we encourage our children to join soccer teams and baseball teams and so on and so forth, so they had an active lifestyle? Because an active lifestyle is a healthy lifestyle. Or did we come from an environment where everybody laid around smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, watching television? What was the choice of the environment that we were in? And what choices did we make when we left that environment? Have everything to do with the way we were programmed. And whether we hold a leadership role or we're a follower. You see, most people are followers because they had no example of what a leader is. What does it take to be a leader? And if we're tired of being a follower and we want to change that role and become a leader, we have to make that choice to learn what is a leader. How do we become a leader? What do I need to do next? And then how do we handle the good and bad experiences? Imagine getting to the airport and you missing your flight. You have a choice. You can get all pushed out of shape, get all excited about what happened, or you can go and purchase a ticket and get on the next flight out of town. It's your choice what you do next. Once you let go of the negative people, positive ones are going to appear automatically. It's a proven fact. We respond to positive or negative circumstances in our personal and professional life based on the influences that happen in our life. And once you realize you are not getting the positive feedback towards the type of relationships that you want, you've got to be willing to move on and get around those people that are going to give you the positive feedback that you want and you desire. You've got to separate yourself. Limit the time that you spend with those people who don't give you the positive feedback that you need. You see, it's not just that you want it, you need it. You've got to create an environment that's going to feed what you want. It's your choice. No one has the right to make choices for you, nor do they have the right to determine your dreams. Since no one has the right to steal your dreams, you can only give them up. I remember when I was a little kid and I was thinking about all the different things I wanted to do with my life and what I wanted to become as I got older. Maybe you want to be a pilot. Maybe you want to be a fisherman, deep sea fisherman. Or maybe you want to be somebody who actually lives on the deep sea fishing boat and you're able to entertain the people that want to pay you to take you out there because you love it. It's a passion of yours. Maybe you want to be a bodybuilder. I remember I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but I wasn't willing to make the choice to do what was necessary every single day, to eat the way they ate, to lift the weights on a daily basis, and exercise the way that they had to exercise to be able to become what I needed to become, to be the bodybuilder that I wanted to be. Or what about being a musician? Paul McCartney. People think how lucky he was. And I think about the shows called The Voice, America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, American Idol, all these shows that are out there, and the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that audition all across the world to be able to perform live so that they can become the next person that wins The Voice, or the next person that wins American Idol, or the next person that wins America's Got Talent. But it's all throughout the world, by the way, if you don't know that. They have these shows all throughout the world in the different countries. And then what about the people that have equal or better talent that never leave their house? They never even try out. You know why? Because they were programmed to believe they don't have what it takes, that no one would think that they're that good. And so they don't even take the risk to find out if they could compete at a level of potentially winning America's Got Talent or American Idol or The Voice. Or maybe you want to be a dancer. Wow. Well, that was your dream, to be a dancer. You see, everything that I'm showing you, someone had a dream to be these, because people, they actually live these dreams. But they make the choice to do it. And they go after it. Now, I mean, if you got in an accident and you were unfortunately a victim of circumstances based on an accident, you can't dance, I understand that. But that doesn't mean you stop dreaming, you stop living, you stop going after, chasing after a dream of some sort. Or maybe you have the dream to empower other women. It's a choice. You just roll up your sleeves, you do what it takes. You make it happen. If you want to change the world, you can do it. You change the world one day at a time. But you have to believe you can. Maybe you want to be a photographer. That was your dream of yours. But who would hire you? There's so many other photographers out there. Oh, really? I've got a really dear friend who lives in Southern California. He decided one day that he wants to be a professional photographer, and he did. He went over there and he just started shooting pictures and started submitting to magazines, and some of the magazines started taking his pictures. He was doing it for free. See, there are some people, they won't do it unless they're going to get paid to do it. He did it for free because he dreamed that he could be a professional photographer where magazines and Hollywood would bring him in and allow him to take pictures for him and actually pay him to do it. And guess what? They do. He makes a living doing it today because he wanted to. And by the time he got involved in it, he was probably already in his 30s. He wasn't even a photographer before that, but it was just a decision he made. This guy that you're looking at right now, this is my brother, Joseph Bellacera. He's an artist. I'll never forget the day that he told me, and this was years ago. He says, you know, Jim, he goes, I just want to live off of what I believe and what I'm passionate about. And of course, that meant his art. And at the time, he owned his own business. He was a designer. He did signs and print and all kinds of stuff for different companies. He was busy, he made money, he made a living, he was able to support his family. But that wasn't his passion. That wasn't his dream. That wasn't what he wanted to do. And he finally, one day, he made a choice. He pulled the trigger. He says, I'm going after my dream. And so night after night, he would paint and paint and paint and paint. And eventually he got his work into galleries, art galleries. And soon after that, you know, more art galleries would accept his artwork. And eventually he was starting to make enough money where he could work less hours being a designer and work more hours during the day as a painter. And eventually it got to the point where he was able to walk away from his job and completely support himself and his family 100% off of his artwork. And today, years later, my brother is still living off of his artwork. Actually, he makes way more money today than he was then. His artwork is all over the world. He's built statues and things. You've seen artwork outside of buildings and inside of buildings. My brother does that. People commission him to build things, paint artwork. His artwork is in hotels and airports, libraries, schools. I remember one day I had to go use the restroom. I was in the Sacramento Embassy Suites Hotel, downtown Sacramento. If you've ever been to the Jazz Festival, it's right over in that area in Sacramento, California. And I'm walking into the bathroom and I look at this picture and gosh, that looks like something my brother does. And so I stopped and I looked for the signature and it said Joseph Bellacera. And I go, oh my gosh, this is my brother's work. And this guy walks out of the bathroom and I said to him, I says, hey, check this out. He goes, what? I go, see this? This is Joseph Bellacera. He goes, yeah. He goes, that's my brother. I didn't even know that guy from Adam. I had no clue who he was. I was so excited to see my brother's work in a hotel. Then I found out that it's all over the hotel, in bed, in the hotel rooms and all over. But years later, I didn't realize how famous my brother was. And my brother didn't do it to be famous. He did it because he wanted to live off of his work, to do what he's passionate about doing. And to realize that he's got work that's in big buildings and outside the big buildings. It's just amazing. But it's a choice. It's your choice to be with someone who loves you back. It's your choice to live a negative or positive life. It's your choice to be an example for your children who need you. It's your choice to believe that you are worthy. It's your choice to earn the type of income you desire. It's your choice to work where you believe that you belong to work. It's your choice to live a healthy life or an unhealthy life. It's your choice to be a leader or a follower. It's your choice on how you handle good and bad experiences. You see, it's your choice to get that positive feedback. It's your choice to read the books that are going to help you make the right choices. It's your choice to think and act like what you want to attract. What do you want to attract? It's your choice to read these books. I'll never forget one of the first books I read, and understand I was 26 years old when I started reading books. Yeah, I'm not proud of that fact, but it is what it is. When I got through high school, I had read one book and I said, I will never read another book the rest of my life. I know I attempted college a couple of times, but the bottom line was I was told that if I want to achieve a greater life, I need to learn what successful people know. And if I want to find that information, I need to read it. Because they say that readers are leaders and leaders are readers. So I said, okay. And the magic of thinking big. I thought it was about making money, but what it was about changing my thought process. And the more I read it, the more I lived it. In fact, I read that book 20 times in a row in the same year. I read that book side by side with another book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I read other books each month. You know, The Power of Positive Thinking, they all intertwine with each other. 7 Strategies to Wealth and Happiness by Jim Rohn. There's so many books that are so similar out there. You could read books today because these books were the influence of the books of today. But I had a chance to meet Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and I, Zig Ziglar was an amazing man. You know, when I would watch him from stage, he was bigger than life. And when I met him backstage where all the speakers would come, I had a chance to get to meet him on a personal level and to realize that he lived what he preached, because he made that choice that he could say what he wanted to say from stage and live any way that he wants, but he chose to live what he preached from stage. And on the quote that I have here, it says, "Will you look back on life and say, I wish I had, or I'm glad I did?" I'm sure that Zig went to his grave saying, "I'm glad I did." But so many people always say the words, "I wish I had, I wish I could," but I can't. Because they find every excuse under the book. They choose to find excuses rather than solutions or reasons. I want to go to my grave saying, I did something. I made a mark. What do you want to do? It's your choice. Nobody can make that choice for you. You need to be clear and decisive when you make a choice, and you need to own that choice, because whether it's right or wrong, good or bad, that's your choice. You made it. You can't come up with an excuse as why it didn't work or blame somebody else for you making a choice. Accept it. Move on. If it was the right choice, ain't it great? If it was a bad choice, own up to it. Because the good news is, you make a mistake in life, you learn from those mistakes. When you make a choice, make it immediate, follow through, and make sure that your response to your decision is quick, because you want to validate what choice you made. Because what some people do when they make a choice, they want to hem-haw and wait around to see if they could have made a better choice, and then they end up making no choice. Make a choice, be decisive, and respond immediately and lock it in and move forward, good or bad. You know, when fear knocks, answer the door. Fear is a liar. You know, fear is the thing that holds people back from achieving greatness in their life. If it wasn't for fear, I guess everybody would be successful, huh? Because people are afraid of success. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of making a wrong choice. They're afraid of turning down the wrong road. They're afraid of anything. But you know, without risk, there's no reward. And you know, when it comes to people, customers, and clients, they follow those who know where they're going. They listen to people who believe in themselves. There's a saying that actions speak louder than words. They follow people whose actions speak louder than their words. You see, the saying is, my apologies, your actions speak so loud, I cannot hear what you say. I want to repeat this. Your actions speak so loud, I cannot hear what you say. What that means is, what you do is who you are. People watch you. If they see you turn to the left, but you say you're turning to the right, then the truth is you're going left. If you say that you're going to be here tonight at 6 o'clock, but you don't show up at 6 o'clock, then they know that your actions speak so loud that your words mean nothing to them. They follow people who are committed to what they say. Separate or limit the time that you spend with those who don't encourage your dreams. You see, you have a choice every single day to go down the road of negative or the road of positive. It's all a fact, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fact. You choose every day, every hour of every day, whether you're going to go down the road of negative or the positive. You need to be around people that are going to help you make the right choice. So you have to pick the door that you're going to go through. The door that says, this door is going to help you get where you want to go. Or this door is the path of least resistance. Or this door is, don't worry, be happy where you're at. It's your choice. You choose the door. And people do it every single day. They do nothing, they do something, or they do a little. It's your choice to make a good or bad choice. But whatever choice you make, you better live with it. You better own up to it and better accept it as it was your decision. Because you determine your destiny based on the choices you make in your life. So whether you take the path of least resistance or you choose to become a leader, it's your choice. I want to thank you for taking the time to go through this lesson with me. And I look forward to hearing about your experiences as you grow and become the person that you want to be. You see, it's your choice. When I finally realized it was my choice, I changed my life.